my body went into a thing called DKA. And basically it's where your blood sugar has been so high for so long that your organs just start shutting down. I remember like going and taking a nap, and I was like, Mom, I think I'm good. I was like, I just need to sleep this off. And I woke up and all my legs were black and blue. My arms were black and blue. I was like, what happened? And they said that if I would have like laid in that bed 11 more minutes, that I would have died at home. Like, that's how bad it was. When they put a number on it and said you had 11 minutes, like, that really did hit me. And that was a hard thing for me to process. But it also kind of put a fire under me to know that, like, okay, I don't know what the devil's trying to do right now, the enemy, but I'm not letting him take me out. I know that I have a purpose, and I don't know what's going on right now, but, you know, it ain't going to be me. Not today. Not today, Satan. Literally, I was thinking that.
Well, why didn't everyone just welcome my friend RaeLynn? Welcome to the show.
I'm so excited to be here.
It's fun to have you. So we've worked together a little bit, and I'm excited for everyone to hear your story. Let's start with growing up in Baytown, Texas. Tell us about it.
So if you don't know where Baytown is, I mean, I've lived in so many parts of that town, but my family had a church growing up, you know, in Baytown. But I loved the place that I grew up because, like I said, there was just, it's just a lot of blue collar workers, hard workers, a lot of chemical plants in Baytown. So everybody's parent or father had a chemical plant job. Like, everybody worked 10 on, 10 off. And so when you have like just that, you know, hardworking people around you 24/7, I think it definitely instilled that in me.
I think I have this right. 7th generation Texan?
8th generation.
Oh,
all right.
Jeez.
When I had my daughter Daisy, I wanted to fly and have her in Texas because I wanted her to be a 9th generation so bad, but she's not. So.
All right, we'll get to her. Yeah, tell us about growing up as a pastor's kid. They got a title for that, a PK, right?
I have not always been a pastor's kid. My dad is in the tire business. He's owned his own trucking and tire company since he was 23. He started at a very young age, and then my mom was a single mom, and she grew up, like, growing up, she was in the corporate world. But my aunt and uncle, they were, like, traveling worship leaders, so they would just, like, go from church to church to church. But my aunt and uncle decided to start a church in Baytown, and when they decided to start that church, my mom left her corporate job in Houston and decided to do full-time ministry, which was really cool. And when my mom made that decision, everybody thought that I was a military kid because we moved so much. But it was just because my mom was just always taking different jobs and stuff. I'm very thankful for my family and growing up that way because, like I said, it brought a realness to my life that I needed, for sure.
Did you first find music in church?
So I've always loved music, country music. My cousin, he was in a band called RaeLynn, and RaeLynn have had, like, all their albums have been nominated for Grammys. He got his first publishing deal at 11 years old, writing worship songs. And that was my aunt and uncle, the ones that have a church in Baytown. That was their son. And so I always saw RaeLynn, you know, writing and chasing his dreams, and I loved it. I was like, that's exactly what I want to do. But everybody in my family was so musical that I've always been kind of a rebel at heart. I was like, listen, I got to do something different. So I was like, maybe I'm going to do acting or dancing, and I tried that, and I went back around and found my love for music. But my dad every year would take me to the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. And if y'all don't know about the Houston Rodeo, it is huge. If you sell at the Houston Rodeo, it's 80,000 people. That's like my dream place. And so my dad took me there every single year. I saw Ray Charles there. I saw Shania Twain. Of course, in my teen bop years, Jonas Brothers, big deal. But I saw everybody. And I've always connected with country music because, to me, my faith is so important. My relationship with God is so important. But I also love to have fun, and I love just the realness of country music. And at first, I kind of felt bad. I was like, oh, like, I probably should be writing worship songs or this and that. But I was just writing songs that were real to me in the moment as, you know, a 14-year-old, or whatever you go through at 14. But at that moment, that's the music that I was writing. And it's been a really cool journey because I never knew that growing up, I would pick country music, but I just did. It fell in my lap.
I love it. Your parents separated when you were 3 years old.
Yeah.
I've heard that you really didn't process that a lot till maybe you got a little bit older. Tell us about what you remember.
Yeah. My parents, have a wild love story. They got, like you said, a divorce when I was 3 years old. And, growing up in a divorced home, and I will say, I've heard a lot of different scenarios. I had best case scenario, but I think the thing about divorce is even best case scenario, as a kid, you still feel that pain. They both loved me unconditionally. My dad was not an absent father. He was in the picture. My mom was an amazing mom. But, I always had that tug and that pull of, I can't say this in front of my mom, or, she'll feel a certain way, or I can't say this in front of my dad about my mom because, that's not going to be good. Like, I don't want to ruffle any feathers and stuff. And I've always loved country music because of the stories that you can tell. And I never had a song that really was as deep until I wrote Love Triangle.
Mom! Dad's here! Sitting on the front.
And I'll never forget, I heard this incredible woman say that she mentored me as a songwriter. And she was just saying, because I always, as a songwriter, I always felt like I had to fit this whole story in 3 minutes. Like, I have to tell how they grew up. I have to do this, and all these things. How do I fit this in 3 minutes? Like, I would always get so consumed with how to write a song. And she said, a song is not the whole story. A song is a moment in time. And when she said that, songwriting just clicked for me, like, in that moment. And so every song that I write is a moment. Every song that I write can make somebody feel a certain way about one thing. That's what I need to hone in on. This particular day, I was headed to a writing session. My mom and dad were just arguing about something, and I felt really in the middle. I almost canceled my write because I was just emotionally like, I'm just not ready for this. But I was like, you know what? They've always said as a songwriter, you just got to show up, and you never know what you're going to get, and I got to show up. And so I showed up, and we were starting this, fun, up-tempo country song, and I was just like, y'all, I don't feel like writing this. I was like, this is what I'm dealing with right now. And I started opening up about, growing up in a divorced home and growing up with two incredible parents that just didn't love each other, and growing up in this love triangle. And right when I said growing up in this love triangle, we all looked at each other and we were like, that's the song. Love Triangle really just laid a foundation for me as an artist and as a songwriter, because it was the song that helped me connect to my fans in a deeper way. And I think it's just so important as an artist and a songwriter, always tell your story, because you're always going to relate to somebody. I love everything that Love Triangle represents. And I love that the fact that I grew up the way that I did for this song and to be able to be a light in that way.
That's the first time I heard you sing, and I fell in love with it too.
Thank you.
You were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at 12. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
Getting diagnosed with diabetes, that was a big letdown for me. I was so confused about diabetes. Like, my mom had diabetes and my grandmother, I was like, I'm young. How do I have type 1 diabetes? I just didn't understand it. I wasn't educated on it. And we were actually in Nashville because my cousin RaeLynn had a huge show here. I was dropping weight like crazy. And my mom, I was 12, so I had gotten a little taller. She's like, oh, she's growing up. She's becoming a woman, like all the things. She didn't think diabetes, because in her mind, diabetes is, if you're older, it's not something that children have. And so anyways, I remember being sick as a dog that week. I just wasn't feeling myself. And we get back from Nashville, get back to Baytown. My body went into a thing called DKA. And basically it's where your blood sugar has been so high for so long that your organs just start shutting down. I remember going and taking a nap, and I was like, Mom, I think I'm good. I was like, I just need to sleep this off. And I woke up and all my legs were black and blue. My arms were black and blue. I was like, what happened? And so I called my mom. She called an ambulance because I said, I don't have time for you to get here. She was 20 minutes away. But my cousin got there because she lived right down the road. She hops in the ambulance with me, and we get to the hospital. They knew, they can see you and know exactly what it is. But of course we didn't know. And they said that if I would have laid in that bed for 11 more minutes, that I would have died at home. That's how bad it was. Anyways, of course, everything was good. I was able to stabilize myself. They took me to Texas Children's. Texas Children's Hospital is the coolest hospital ever. When I aged out, I was so upset. I was like, I never want to leave this hospital. It's awesome. I was like, oh, great. Now I'm never going to get to go to a pool party. Now I'm never going to get to do this or never get to do that. And I never thought that I'd be able to have children. I mean, there's so many lies that I told myself just for, having type 1 diabetes. And then you find community. You find, you realize that, oh, okay, this is actually something that a lot of people deal with. There is nothing cooler to me than when I'm on stage. I wear a pump, insulin pump. And when I have a fan show me their insulin pump or they have me sign it, and just having that connection with fans on a level like that, it's good representation because, we're all dealing with stuff behind closed doors. And so to be able to have diabetes and to be able to speak on behalf that you don't have to let diabetes stop you from what you're called to do, I'm thankful that God picked me to do it. So
there's a little dust in there, pardon me for a second. You're 12 years old, obviously that's young, but, conscious of what's going on around you. Do you remember feeling any certain way, like when, oh my gosh, I could have died? Was there a moment you're like, man, I got a second chance, or did anything go through your head?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I think basically when you go into DK, like I said, all your organs shut down and you were just exhausted. I mean, I didn't know what was happening. And so I remember taking a bath, and I fell asleep in the bathtub as the water was running. And this is how I know it was totally a God thing. I was literally asleep, and the shower comes on and hits my face with cold water. And I'm one of those girls, I like my bath hot. That's my vibe. I want like a hot tub. And so anyways, I woke up and the water was right here in the bathtub. And I was like, and it freaked me out so much. I remember in that moment, I was like, what's going on? How am I just falling asleep like this? And I was like, okay, I need to take a nap. That was a hard thing for me to process, but it also kind of put a fire under me to know that I know that I have a purpose, and I don't know what's going on right now, but it ain't gonna be me.
Once you got into high school, you decided you want to get in entertainment, so much so that you finished high school early, right?
Go to school, finish school, kids, okay? Do it. I did not like school. I was a rebel. I did not like it. I did love public school, though, because I loved people. I loved hanging out. That was the one thing I hated about homeschooling. I was like, I don't have any buddies. I loved public school. I thought it was so much fun. So anyways, so we were traveling so much, and homeschooling was just not my vibe. And so I just told my mom, I was like, let me just find a homeschool lot, where I have some connection with people. And with my type 1 diabetes, after I got diagnosed with diabetes, my mom and dad were kind of helicopter parents. And they were like, I just don't want you to be far away from me. We're a family unit. We're going to do this together, whatever life looks like. And so anyways, we found this homeschooling program where you go 2 days a week, because my mom wanted to be a homeschool teacher. She is not a homeschooling teacher. She was just get super stressed out. I want to homeschool my daughter, Daisy. I'm like, that is not going to happen. We're definitely going to bring somebody. I was helping my niece with her homeschooling stuff, or their math. I was like, okay, this is not the vibe. But anyways, so I started with this program. I just wanted to be done with school. And so I did 2 years of summer school, and basically I just worked all year long rather than taking time off. I just worked all year long, and I graduated at 16, and I graduated top of my class, which was crazy. But don't ask me how many kids were. There's only 12, okay? But I know. So I finished early, and I really just finished early. That way I could just kind of focus on this dream that I wanted. I always knew at a young age I wanted to be in entertainment.
What were you guys traveling so much for? Was it church or revivals?
It was church. It was revivals. So at the time, I did a stint in LA for a year. So after I graduated, I moved to LA.
At 16?
At 16. So
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong, right? I was driving without a license in LA traffic. Do not recommend it. But nobody knows that until now. I have my license now. It's okay.
Just between us girls. It's fine.
No one knows. No, nobody will know. Hey, listen, my dad can't see, so you'd rather me drive, okay? But he would leave me. It was awesome. But all that being said, I moved to LA for a little stint. I was getting a lot of callbacks for auditions and stuff. Remember when I told you I had a little rebel phase where I didn't want to sing and songwrite? I was like, all right, I'm going to be an actress. I love acting. I love everything. I love Barbra Streisand. I'm just obsessed with all these. I Love Lucy. I want to do this. This is what I'm called to do, whatever. And so I started doing these auditions, and I started getting so many And I was like, okay, I have to move to LA. I quickly realized that LA was not my vibe. I just didn't fit in there. It was really hard for me to find friend groups. It's an entitlement town, especially at that time. And you would go into an audition and I'm trying to make friends and nobody wanted to talk to you. That energy and stuff just really brought my spirit down. And so in the middle of living in LA, that's when I started songwriting. And I started just uploading videos to YouTube of me singing covers and songwriting. Every day I would pray. I was like, God, open the doors that you want to open in my life and close the doors you want closed. But I want you to lead me and guide me. I know I'm here for a reason. And my mom and dad only gave me a year. And I moved in April and it was March. And I was like, all right, I got one more month to prove myself. Because I wanted to stay because I wanted to I didn't want to go back to Texas. Even though like it wasn't my scene, I had a fear of failing at 16, which is so dramatic. But that was me. Like I always put a lot of pressure on myself as a kid. Was looking online. I was like, oh wait, there's a songwriter contest. That sounds fun. I mean, I got songs. I mean, I'm a country singer, but hey, you never know. And I get to this little coffee shop and I auditioned to do the contest. They picked me to do the contest. Me and my cousin RaeLynn, when he came down to LA, he was doing some show in San Diego and came to stay a couple days with me. We wrote a song called Baby That's My Type. And it was the first song that I wrote. I was like, this is a hit. Oh, wow. I was so pumped about it. And so I sing the song at this little showcase, and then I sing a couple covers. And this woman approaches me, and her name was Judy Stakey. I'll never forget her. She is just an amazing person, a part of my journey. And so she comes up to me, and she was the head of creative at Warner Chappell, LA. And Warner Chappell is a publishing company in LA, and they have one in Nashville as well. And she was like, did you write that first song? And I said, yes, ma'am. And I remember she said, don't call me ma'am. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. But so she was like, I would love for you to come to my house and I would love to hear your story. And so I quickly Googled her when I got home and I was like, oh my gosh, she's legit. This is awesome. So we get to her house. I play her Baby That's My Type. And we talk and all this stuff. And she said, let's do a work tape. She said, have you thought about going to Nashville? And I was like, listen, I'm not doing music. I really want to focus on this. She's like, I think music can be the gateway to all these other dreams that you have in your heart, but I think you should focus on the one thing that's working for you, and I think that music could work for you. I mean, you're so really young, you're 16, like, try this, and then eventually you can do these all the other things that are on your heart to do. I was like, okay, that's a great idea. And so we did a work tape of Baby That's My Type, and she said, listen, I'm going to send this to like 10 or 15 songwriters. Don't get your hopes up. There's probably going to be like one or two that want to write with you, but I'm no guarantees. And I was like, okay, like, I'm not upset, like whatever you say. And she sends out this song, and every single person she sent it to wanted to write with me. And she was like, oh, wait, we got something special here. And so she starts booking me. So I was like, okay, let's do it. So I started, that's in the moment when I decided, all right, well, this acting thing's really not working out for me. I'm going to commit to country music. I'm going to commit to songwriting. Let's go for it. So I started going back and forth to Nashville, but I'm in Nashville. I'm writing. It's great. Everything's going good. I'm writing with Natalie Hemby, who's a huge songwriter, Brad Tersey, who is a part of Old Dominion, Nicole Gallion, like all these, Jimmy Robbins, like I couldn't even believe the people I was writing with. I was like, oh my God, you wrote songs from Randall Lambert. You want to write with me? And I got to write with Bob DePiro, who's written songs for George Strait. Like when I tell you, like the doors were just opening in Nashville, and I was like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. And so I was in a write with a girl named April Jesberet, who's an amazing songwriter as well, and Nicole Gallion. And we were singing, and she was like, have you thought about auditioning for The Voice? And I was like, nah, I'm done with TV. I ain't doing this. Like, the funny thing is, when I think about my 16-year-old self saying that, like, so much life I've gone through, I'm done with TV. Like, what the heck? I was like, no, I don't want to do any shows. Like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to rough it. I'm going to do country music. She's like, no, you should audition for the show. I think you would do really well at it. And I was like, well, I do love Blake Shelton. He's awesome. And I guess he could help me, like, or whatever. And so she had an audition for the show, and she was like, just take mine. And I was like, no, I'm not going to take your slot. Like, that's, because, they do have like private auditions for artists that have already been kind of vetted out. I don't feel comfortable doing this, but I did it. I did my own rendition, a country rendition of Born This Way by Lady Gaga. Made it my own. I sang Hell on Heels by the Pistol Annies. And then I sang Baby That's My Type, an original song. I'll never forget that moment. It felt like just a utopia experience. I got done singing, and she came up to me, the girl came up to me, and she said, "You were exactly what we were looking for this season." And then gives me a ticket that was basically saying that I'm going straight to California. And I was like, what? This is crazy. And I was like, I just left California 4 months ago. Why couldn't this happen? But it honestly would have never happened if I wouldn't have gone to Nashville. So we end up going back to California. Literally, our hotel was 5 minutes from where I just lived not even a year ago. And it was so cool because my friends were like, what the heck, you're back? Like, it was so epic. It was so much fun. I always knew that I wanted to be Team Blake, but when Blake and Adam turned around for me, I'll never forget. I've only had 2 out-of-body experiences, and one of those was when I was singing on the show, and my mom is a hoot, okay? Even though she's a pastor, she's crazy, okay? She's like a crazy pastor, but I think all of them were a little crazy. And she, right before I go on stage, she goes, "Rae, you breathe, pray, and you shake your shit. You've got this." And I was like, all right, I'm doing it. And so I was so nervous. And I had practiced Hell on Heels so many times. I could sing it in my sleep. And I get up on stage, and I'm like literally just singing on stage. I went on autopilot mode. And I'm singing, and I was like, I'm getting first verse. First 2 lines, Adam turns around. I'm like, oh my God, that's Adam Levine. Holy crap, I just made the voice. Oh, and I'm like thinking all this through, singing this song. And I was like, oh, and I was like just so anxious. And then Blake turns around. I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is crazy. And then and then I start like ramping it up. I'm growling all the things. I'm in it now. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to country star right now. And I was like, this is great. And I was just so pumped. And then of course I get done, and Blake and Adam have turned around, and I didn't expect Adam to turn. I hoped Blake would turn. So Adam was like having 2 of the biggest artists in music fighting over you, for a spot on their team. I was just like, I don't know what to do, And so of course I went with Blake, and it was the best decision I made in my whole life. I'd still tell Adam, I'm so sorry. I love you, but not the right bit. And so went with Blake. Instantly, me and Blake just had this like family relationship. He took me right under his wing, and one thing I loved about him is he really wanted to get to know his team. And so there was no cameras. He invited us all over for dinner one night. One cool thing about season 2, the season that I was on, ancient season now, is everybody was truly an artist. And so a lot of these artists had careers before The Voice. And so you were getting to hear their stories, you were getting to hear their original songs, and everybody was playing songs off their phone. Well, I didn't have any songs on my phone. And so it came to me, and they're like, do you have an original song you want to sing? And I was like, well, I don't have a guitar. Or I would sing something. And Blake goes, well, here you go, and gives me his guitar. I was like, oh my God, no, I'm not doing this. And I got so nervous. And then I remember just being like, God has me in this time for a reason. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna play Baby That's My Type. And so I played Baby That's My Type, and right when I was singing, and I was playing a song that I wrote, original song, like when I walked away, Blake was like, you're actually a really great songwriter. I was like, thank you. He's like, you don't need to stress about what happens after this show. Like, you're going to do great things. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like, I appreciate that. And so in that moment, I think he knew that I wasn't just a girl that sings cover songs. He knew that I actually was a songwriter and an artist. Really did. So I made it to top 12. I hit the worst note ever. And that really was hard for me too, because, online hate has always been a thing, but like, I can't imagine getting on Twitter or getting on Instagram and attacking a 16-year-old and being like, your voice sucks, honky as hell. I mean, there were so many things. And Blake at the time, he gave just zero craps. He would, if somebody would say anything mean to me, he goes, you chicken, you ain't gonna do that. I'm like, what do you do with your life, keyboard warrior? He didn't want me to get like think less of myself or whatever. And I have those messages still screenshot on my from years. I mean, that was like 11 years ago. So like, all right, well, I'm off the show. Like, it is what it is. I was just so nervous. Like, I will say it did kind of put another fire under me to be like, all right, I got this. This is okay. This is not where my journey ends. And so I got off the show and I moved straight to Nashville. And it ended up being a God thing, because if I would have gotten any further than top 12, I wouldn't have owned my own publishing. I would have been signed to a 360 deal, which if you know what a 360 deal is they own everything. When you sign those contracts, it's crazy. Like I said, moved to Nashville and I got signed to Big Machine Records with Scott Bruschetta. And that's kind of what, started my journey into Nashville.
I love it. What did you stay in touch with Blake after the show? What happened there?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, we still talk today. I mean, he really helped me navigate this town. I didn't know a lot of people, so being able to meet somebody and text him and ask, hey, is this person authentic? I mean, he was very protective of me, which was awesome, because I think I really would have been chewed up and spit out in this town, because I didn't know anybody and I'm a very trusting person. And so he really did give me the advice that I needed to find a new manager, to find, put the right people around me. I would play him songs that I wrote. And he's family for life. So definitely the right decision.
I got a note here that you sang background vocals on a pretty cool song of his. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we sang. So I got to do, Boys Around Here, which was one of his biggest hits that he's ever put out.
Boys around here don't listen to the Beatles run. Old Bo Cephas threw a jukebox needle at the honky-tonk where they boot stomp all night. What? Yeah, and what they call work a digging in the dirt. Gotta get it in the ground.
Got to sing with him and the Pistol Annies. It was my first huge music video experience. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's a lot of people. But I really enjoyed that. I also got to do Buzzin' on one of his records, and then he was on my last record, Baytown. We did I Got a Track Together.
Amazing. Most people think when you get a record deal, you've made it. Like, that's like end of the road. Tell us.
If they only knew. Yes, I mean, that's the funny thing about the music industry, is it looks very glamorous, and it is genuinely the least glamorous thing ever. There's a lot of hard work, but when I signed to Big Machine, I was like, this is it. I made it. This is great. This is cool. And but it was kind of a humbling experience though, because I went straight from The Voice, the lights, a full band, everything, done for you, a wardrobe, all the things, to moving straight to Nashville and getting a record deal and going straight on radio tour. And radio tour is a labor of love, you guys. Like, it is. You're going to every radio station in all of America. I mean, I got ready in gas stations. I did whatever needed to be done. And thank God I'm a little redneck and a little white trash and grew up in Baytown, because I didn't mind getting ready in a gas station. Some girls probably wouldn't. I was like, we got this. Let me just curl my hair real quick. I mean, and I ate so much Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, and Panera. That was what we ate all the time. I've had kind of a crazy ride and with record deals. I was signed to Big Machine Music for almost 3 years, and then I signed over to Warner Music Nashville for 3 years. I was over there for 3 years, and then after Warner, I decided to kind of go the independent route, and I did a joint venture with Florida Georgia Line, Brian and Tyler. And I remember when I left Warner, I was like, oh my God, I'm such a failure. Like, every time I left a label situation, I just had this, I knew that God had me, but in this town, like, if you don't have a shiny record deal, you're not cool. Like, you're not really taken seriously, or I thought so. And it's been, I've been here now since I was 18 and 28 now. And what has gotten me through is the fans. Like, it's country music fans are the best, and this town is magic. And I think we get so caught up in the business bullcrap that we forget that it all starts with a song, and it all starts with who you are authentically as a person. If I could go back and talk to my younger self, I would literally just tell her to take a chill pill, because I was so worried about offending somebody, or so worried about saying this, or so worried about writing this. And now I'm in this phase of life where I'm like, either you love me for who I am, or you can literally just get away from me. I'm okay with that. And it's been a wild ride.
Takes a lot of grit.
It does.
Didn't quite know how to tell him. I try to speak a truth like that.
You wrote a song called She Chose Me. Tell us about that.
My mom was married for like 12 years. Her and her husband split up. She was, doing her own thing. They were going to get a divorce, all the things. She had 4 kids in her previous marriage. She was selling insurance, doing her own thing, Mrs. Independent, and she met my husband. She met my dad, and they went on like a weekend trip to Galveston. And she did not know it at the time, but she got pregnant with me. Her and her husband, that they, were split up, they decided that they were going to get back together. So they were like, all right, we're making this decision. We have a lot of things to work through, but at the end of the day, we have 4 kids together, and we believe that God can work this out. So they got back together. Well, she finds out she's pregnant, and she's like, this is not your baby, and this is not like what I said. Like, I don't know how to do this. And I think the coolest part and the craziest part of my mom's story is my mom, we believe in Jesus. We know that babies are gifts from God. We know that there is nothing, God does everything for a reason. But in that moment, she's like, I've got to get rid of this baby. Like, I can't keep this baby. This baby is going to grow up and have a different father. Like, what are people going to think about us in the church? Like, all these different things. And so she made an appointment to, abort me. And that was something that she was going to do. And so she was on her way to the appointment, and she had told my Aunt Cindy, the ones that have the church in Baytown, but she told my Aunt Cindy, of course, my Aunt Cindy was like, don't do this. Like, this is not, like, God has a purpose for that child. It's going to be fine or whatever. But she was just so, like, my mom is hell-bent. She was like, I'm doing this. It's okay. It's whatever. One of her friends had a dream that she was pregnant and called her and said, hey, I had a dream where you're pregnant. Are you pregnant? And she, like, started bawling, and she was like, yes. She said, I don't know what you're going to do right now, but I'm telling you that baby in your stomach has the call of God on its life, and it's going to be a light to this world, and you do not need to do what I think you're going to do. She turned the car around and didn't make that decision. And here I am today. Thank you, Jesus. My mom's and my dad, every time I do anything awesome, they would, like, when I played the Grand Ole Opry, they would bawl their eyes out. I know these are all great things, but they were just always so emotional, and I never really understood. And then when I found this out, I was like, oh my gosh, it's because I almost didn't exist. Like, I think the biggest thing that's so beautiful about, my mom's story is that she did choose life. And I think that people forget, like, there is a life behind that decision. I'm so thankful that she did. And then I started thinking more. I was like, okay, if I wasn't here, my daughter wouldn't be here. My husband wouldn't have met the love of his life. And I started just kind of going through all these things in my head. I wrote this song called She Chose Me.
If it went the other way, nobody would have blamed her. Think of all the small town talk, it would have saved her. She could have chosen one quick fix to get her out of one big mess.
And I love She Chose Me so much because the opening line is, if it went the other way, nobody would have blamed her. Think of all the small town talk, it would have saved her. Because I never wanted anybody to feel guilt for what they did, but I also because it is I can't imagine feeling like you had to make the decision to end, a child's life, and I can imagine the pain that comes with that. When I wrote She Chose Me, I was like, I can't put this out. Like, there's no way I can put this out. And I was like, it's gonna, people were gonna make it political, or they're gonna do this or that, and literally every night for 4 nights in a row, I had a dream that I was picking tracks for my record. I have very vivid dreams. And I remember I was talking to my manager at the time, and I was like, well, we're going to do this song, and She Chose Me, or whatever. And I always said She Chose Me, and I said it 4 nights in a row, and I had the same exact dream. And I was like, all right, God, what are you trying to tell me? Like, okay, I'll do it. And I put the song on my record, and I was super nervous about it. But then I was like, you know what? If this song changes one person's mind, then it's done its job. Like, I'm not gonna, and that's what country music is about. Country music is about telling your stories. Johnny Cash wrote some of the hardest songs. LaRetta Lynn wrote some of the hardest songs. Dolly Parton wrote some, like, that's what country music is about, is telling your stories. And if we stop doing that, then we're not doing our job as songwriters and artists. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do it. So I put the song out, and within a day, there was 10,000 videos made on TikTok and Instagram of women telling their stories within a day. And now I think there's like 800,000 videos. Like, it is crazy. And I'm like, literally, when the song came out, I was 2 weeks postpartum, not the time to hear this. And so I'm like going through TikTok, swollen as can be, I'm nursing my baby. I'm like, I'm like crying. And I'm looking at my daughter, and I'm looking at this beautiful life that Jesus has given me. And I just was like, being a songwriter, this is what being an artist is about, is writing real stuff, because we're all real people and we all feel. And I think, as you know, being a millennial, and especially Gen Z, this whole new generation, we all are basing things on facts or whatever and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, we want to feel something. And I come from a very emotional generation. And if you listen to She Chose Me, it brings emotion. If you hear somebody's story, it gives you emotion. And that's how we're going to win people, is by emotion and by telling our stories. I mean, this song has just been also another piece of my foundation as an artist.
I love it. And you married a guy who's no slouch, a former pro baseball player turned Green Beret Special Forces guy. And you guys recently had a baby, so I'm a little worried this child's going to be way too ambitious. Tell us a little about Daisy.
First of all, my husband is epic. Parents have been married for 40 years, one of 7 kids. He has 5 sisters. I was so nervous about all those girls. I was like, but they were so cool. We're all best friends. Yeah, I met him at church right when I moved to Nashville. And I always told my mom, I was like, listen, I'm going to end up marrying a heathen. I love the Lord so much, but like, I need a guy that maybe says, you know, that cusses a little bit, likes to drink, and loves the Lord. Like, I know that that's out there. My mom was like, honey, you'll find the one. Like, because all these guys at church were so weird. Like, you know, and I'm like, listen, I'm spiritual. Like, I love the Lord, but I'm also a real person. Like, Jesus was a real human being. Like, he didn't hang out with other people that love the Lord. He hung out with the drunks. He hung out with actual real people. And he was just himself and loved people. And so, anyways, all that being said, when I saw Josh at church, and of course, that's how God works, I was sitting there and I was like, ooh, who's that cutie? I was like, he's real cute. And so went up to him, and we were at the same wedding 2 weeks later. I was talking to him because I was like, this guy is so cute. I just saw him 2 weeks before. And this wedding, they were just playing like jazz music, and it was just not the vibe. And he was like, and I said, he's like, man, they gotta start playing some booty music or something. I was like, yeah, you're my dude. That's awesome. And so anyways, we met. He's amazing. We've been married for almost 8 years, which is crazy. We get married young in the South. Had my daughter, in 2021. We got pregnant end of 2020. And Daisy raised my daughter's name. And I talk about like just putting everything in perspective, and that is a child. I mean, nothing matters in the world when you have a kid. And I never understood that. I've always heard, oh, listen, your whole world's going to change. No, it does. But it doesn't change for the worse. It changes for the better. And I think you have something else to live for besides yourself. I will say I've always been a rebel. Like when they told me not to get married, I literally went and got married. I was like, I want to be married. This is what I'm going to do. And I did it. And they're like, it's not going to last. Well, look at me now. I'm 8 years into marriage. I'm happy as hell. And then the same thing when I had gotten pregnant, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get to be on the road again. I'm whatever. And it's like, no, when I had Daisy, I feel like I'm overwhelmed with opportunities and life and perspective and songs. Like, I've never written the songs that I'm writing today. I wouldn't be if I didn't have that experience of being a mother. But she's so cute. She's 1.5 years now. She's got a little curly mullet. You know, we're working on her hair right now. But she is just, you know, she's a special kid.
I love it. How do you find balancing being a working mom and having a baby? And people online seem to have an opinion about that.
Yeah. I don't care about people's opinions anymore. You got to leave that. Like, you're going to have negative attention. You're going to have positive attention. You can't focus on the negative because not everybody is going to agree with you. And that's okay. Like, but once you give that, like once you let that go, I've had so much peace in my life. And yes, I mean, I've gotten, you know, hate for some of the things that, I mean, for me being a working mom or something. I'm like, listen, my child is the happiest when she's with her mom and her dad. And home is not just at home. Home is wherever you are as a family. It's been a good balance. Like, I have obviously an incredible supportive husband that helps me. But honestly too, it's just like Daisy, she's like my little best friend. She's my kid, and my mom always took me to her meetings. She took with me to, I traveled with her, and I feel like that's a big reason why I'm the person I am, because my mom never chose, a career over a mom. She's like, this is a part of my life is being a mom, and my dad the same. So it's like, I'm not gonna just leave Daisy at home and not take her with me and let her experience life with me. And she's so great. She loves it. I mean, she got to do her Opry debut. I sang a song that I wrote about her called Raise Me a Country Girl. My daughter was on the Opry stage with me. And 10 years before I had an Opry debut, and then 10 years later, I'm literally have my daughter on my hip singing a song on the Grand Ole Opry. Like, the experiences that she's gonna be able to have just when she gets older, I'm like, is this real life? I get to be a mom and be in country music. Like, it's awesome.
You have chosen in your career and as a mom to stand up for certain things, right? I mean, you wrote "She Chose Me" for a reason. Where you stand on being about babies.
Yeah.
And we met through a music video you did on human trafficking.
Yes. Anything that is on my heart or that I feel like I'm needed to talk about or whatever, old me would have been like, oh, I'm not going to talk about that. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. New me, I'm like, I'm going to talk about whatever is on my heart, because like there needs to be representation of that. People need to know that as an artist or whatever, you're not going to be scared to speak up. And Operation Underground Railroad, which is an anti-human trafficking company where they save, you did the documentary for It's Happening Right Here. You know everything about this organization.
Hard to see it if you don't know what you're looking for. It's easier believing it don't happen in a town like yours. 'Cause church bells ring on Sunday, there's 9 to 5s and baseball games. And if no one talks about it, then no one has to say.
I just love everything that Operation Underground Railroad stands for and does to help save these women and children. And we did a song called It's Happening Right Here that you actually wrote. And I remember being in my truck, and I was headed to a right, and he sends me this song, and he was like, hey, we want to make this song the title song to my documentary that's coming out. Would you sing it? And I'm literally bawling my eyes out, because I think the thing that people don't understand about human trafficking is they think that it happens in other countries and that it's not happening right here, but it's happening right in your backyard. And the sex trafficking, organization itself, like just the whole pool of people, it's a multi-billion-dollar business. And the best way it was described to me is Walmart's a billion-dollar business, and there's one on every corner. So when I found out all this information, I was like, nobody's talking about this? Like, is this not bother anybody? Am I the only one that feels this way? And so I just felt so honored to be able to lend my voice.
We gotta fight, 'cause it's happening right here.
What's next for you?
What's next for me? Well, I'm in this new season, which has been really fun. I'm a completely independent artist. Like, I'm not tied to a label. I'm building my own team. I'm kind of channeling and owning my own lane. And I have nobody telling me what I need to put out. I'm just putting out what's on my heart. And these are some of the realest songs I've ever written. But also I have the fun songs. Like, I'm a fun girl. Like, I love to have a good time, okay? And so I think that's the cool thing about country music is you can have songs about drinking and being fun and partying and all that stuff, but then you can have songs like Love Triangle and She Chose Me and all that. But as a mother now, it's just those songs that I've written about Daisy that are on this project, I just can't wait to put out. It's been a really cool season because I feel like God's really telling me to bet on myself and the hard work that I've put in. This year will be my 11th year to live in Nashville. I think I've laid down a pretty good foundation, and my fans are awesome. And they love the fact that I'm a bulldog and I don't back down on what I believe in. And I love country music, but I'm also going to stand up for what's right. This next phase is going to be more of that, and just being unapologetically myself, and being a mom and choosing family and all of that. I mean, music is awesome, but being a mother and a wife is just as important to me than that. So,
well, I can't wait to watch. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Really?